I'll request Sri Naveen Mittal to give his keynote address on the inaugural of 3-day APTEC Higher EdTech Innovation Conclave. The topic of this inauguration is role of government in fast forwarding the changes for future irrigation. Over to you, Sri Naveen Mittal. Your thoughts on that?
Uh, Thank you, Sauvik. First of all, I must compliment and congratulate the APEC for organizing this very, I would say, important conclave, which is talking about innovation. I must say that innovation per se is the backbone of any higher education system. Though we don't put it in the forefront, but I think it is the backbone. And especially when we look at Indian context, we also give different names to innovation. In fact, there was a very interesting book which came out some years back, which talks about Jugaad. I mean, so innovation has somehow been in our blood, but we have not recognized that in innovation in a big way. So it's good that the higher ethic conclave which is being organized is focusing on innovation and also the role of technology. If we look at the global perspective, lot of I would say transformation is taking place in the education sector. Something which did not happen for last couple of decades. So many other sectors got dramatically, I would say, transformed and disrupted by use of technology. Somehow, education sector was very slow in adopting technology in last couple of decades. But I would say that Corona pandemic has been a sort of a big catalyst, though it has been also a disruptor in terms of physical campuses not happening for almost uh, close to about 9 to 12 months. But if we uh, look at its role as a catalyst in promoting technology, I would say that the transformation which we were looking at uh, adoption of technology in the education sector in next 5 to 10 years has come in a matter of 5 to 10 months itself. So that this has basically accelerated the adoption of technology in the education sector. And today we are all talking about the role of technology, the role of innovation in this sector in a very key way. And if you also look at the innovations which have happened in the last few months, we will be dramatically surprised, because I keep talking to the industry and especially the startups, and I find that there are so many of them now talking about very niche areas of use of technology in the education sector, that I think it is the sunrise time of technology in education sector, especially in India. In fact, yesterday itself, I was talking to a few startups which are promoted by our startup incubator here, which is called T Hub, the Telangana Hub T Hub, and they organized basically a startup government connect. We had a generic such a connect about a couple of months back, where all sectors were involved. But then after that, we thought that we should have a sector specific connect. And yesterday I was talking to some of the startups which are promoted by the T Hub, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the deep insight many of them have, and the kind of niche areas which many of them are working in. And I feel that similar must be the case in many other startup hubs of the country also, where people are now um, looking at individual or niche areas of these problems and trying to solve them. That is one thing which I thought, I must say that this is something which is going to be very transformative for the Indian education sector. Secondly, what we also see is that now there is a good receptivity of technology by especially our education institutions and also the faculty, and that has been a challenge. No, kind of faculty adopting technology. There was this fear that technology is a difficult thing to adopt. That there is a lot of training, retraining required. But when the pandemic hit, and in fact, I can give you the example of Telangana. We locked down almost nearly 1 year back. On the 15th of March, we had our educational institutions shut down last year. And when the shutdown extended on 15th of April last year, we started online teaching. And we were very pleasantly surprised that within about 48 hours of our discussions or issuing of instructions to our institutions to start online teaching, almost 92% of our faculty was up and running, organizing online teaching within a matter of about 2 days. And that really was a very pleasant surprise, and that showed that there was this latent uh, power which was available, but somehow which did not come out. And when this was allowed to happen, we found that the faculty really took it up in a big way. Of course, from the student side, there were issues in terms of devices not being available, internet not being available in some areas, or affordability of internet being a problem, because online teaching consumes a lot of internet uh, bandwidth, and internet the data requirement is quite high. So on those aspects, there was definitely an issue. But what I found was that from the supply side, that is from the faculty side and from the institutional side, they were all very geared up to provide online teaching. Of course, now we I think we all have come to a consensus, and Dr. Pankaj Vittal is there from the Association of Indian Universities. Uh, the future is looking very much kind of blended, because neither only online teaching would solve our problems, nor the traditional way of only physical classroom will solve the problem. And I think the solution lies somewhere in the middle, because if you really look at the some of the advantages of a physical classroom, they are inherently absent in online teaching. That is, in terms of two-way learning which takes place in a classroom between the teacher and the students, because it's not just one way from the teacher to the student. The teacher also picks up a lot of things from the student, and also the question answers which take place. I think that is learning for the teacher also, as to what are the needs of the student, and what are the doubts, and what are the topics which need to be covered. And also, it's not just the transaction between the teacher and the student also, but also a lot of peer-to-peer learning which take place in a classroom or in a campus situation, which hitherto is absent in online teaching. So physical classrooms are there to stay, but there are also, this pandemic has taught us, there are also inherently a lot of advantage in online teaching also, and especially in subjects where um, uh, resources are not available in a particular institution. For example, if we look at technical education or engineering, now a robotics course may not be available in every institution, or faculty who can teach robotics or artificial intelligence may not be available in every institution. So what do we do? Either we deprive the students of that course, or we allow them to take online classes where faculty sitting elsewhere is teaching them, or they go on to a books platform like Swam we have in India, or some international platforms now are very robust platforms which are available. They can learn that subject. In fact, in the state of Telangana, we have identified 5 such subjects in the arts in the last year, where we are developing online teaching material, which we want to offer, and we have already started offering from last year to all the students in Telangana who want to take up that as an optional in BA. That is subjects of sociology, psychology, geography, public administration, journalism, and mass communication. Subjects where either there are not enough students to take to justify a teacher in those colleges, or the availability of teacher is an issue. I mean, even if they want to engage a teacher in some remote place, getting a teacher in some of these niche subjects is an issue. So what we have done is we are developing now online courses which are being floated to our own university, to the students in Telangana who want to opt those subjects in their colleges. So and also, if we really look at education overall, it's not just the education which happens immediately after the school, but also education is a continuing process. And as we are getting more and more insight into what is happening around, we find that reskilling of our manpower is a very, very important need, because uh, things are changing so rapidly that one can't continue with whatever skills one is having. And almost every close to 5 years is an average time, you need kind of either reskilling in higher order skills, or in sometimes in a completely different area altogether. And many of these skilling and reskilling needs for people who are already working, I think online education provides the best method, because they may not be able to spend time coming out of their jobs and go to a campus full time. And that's where it becomes very important to reach out to them through some of these flexible platforms. So I think our Indian universities have to not just focus on the students which they're already having in their campuses, but also they have to open up in a big way to the skilling and reskilling needs of people who are already in the industry. And for that, we really need to step up. In fact, yesterday somebody was telling me that the gap today between the industry, the level with which industry is, and the level at which academia is, especially in India, is almost 5 to 7 years. That is, industry what it is doing today, we will probably be teaching almost 5 to 7 years later. And I'm talking about an average institution. There are some institutions which are at the cutting edge of technology, but if you look at the bulk of the institutions, there is a gap which exists. And if we count it in terms of the years, the estimates are it's about 5 to 7 years, and it's kind of increasing every day. So I think it is imperative for our institutions to really step up and start also looking at the working manpower in also a big way, apart from the students which they're having. And that will really help them to also upgrade themselves to the needs of the industry also. We always keep talking about industry academia connect, or collaboration, but that really requires a lot of nurturing. Another thing which I want to also talk about, which is also one of the topics of discussion today, is that we are also seeing a lot of now proliferation of content which is happening. So I think what is also becoming more and more important is to curate the content which is required by the institutions or by the students. Because there is this huge proliferation of content. It is something similar to that there are millions of books around, but then we pick up a few books which are used as textbook. We don't ask students to go through those thousands and lakhs of books which are there around, or which are sitting in the library. It's impossible for a student to read all those books. Similarly is the case with the online content now. I mean, there is so much of mushrooming of content which has happened and which is happening and going to happen in much more accelerated way, that I think institutions have to now spend a lot of time and energy in curating the content which is available. It's similar to prescribing a textbook which is relevant for a course out of thousands of the books which are available around, rather than again recreating a textbook of own. So every university does not recreate a book of its own for the needs of the student. They prescribe a recommended text of, let's say, 4, 5, or 6 books. Similarly, I think universities and higher education institutions now have to spend time on curating this content and recommending the content to the students, because otherwise it's become a kind of an ocean. And the delay which the more we delay this, I think we will be confusing our students more and more. So I think that is another area which really needs to be focused upon if we want to make better use of the quality content which is lying hidden around in this maze of overall content which is available. I also want to touch upon the use of technology in basic institutional management also. And I think for that, the higher education institutions also need to collaborate with each other, because I don't see too many good platforms even today which are very effective in addressing the needs of our universities, especially in terms of the overall work which happens on the administrative and the management side of the universities. We do have a lot of now learning management systems and content available for the students and faculty, but nothing really great at the level of universities. And I think to solve that problem, the solution would probably be that our institutions need to get together. Maybe the Association of Indian Universities can take the lead in that regard, in helping build university management system of quality, which can address the administrative and management needs of our universities in India. With these few words, I again thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to speak to the participants today. And it's always a pleasure to be part of EPEC programs, which wherein I would say very high order of discussion takes place on topics of current relevance. So I wish all the participants and all the panelists great 2 days ahead in coming to, I would say, sort of a roadmap in the topics which are going to be discussed over these 2 days. So wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sri Naveen Mittal, Commissioner, Collegiate and Technical Education Department, Government of Telangana. And if I just take the crux of Mr. Mittal has said for last 15-20 minutes, a very important point you have raised, sir, that innovation is the backbone of higher education in India. There's no doubt about it. Time has come to recognize that aspect, that innovation is the backbone of per se, not only higher education, but school education spectrum per se in India.